This is part 2 of my flashlight comparison video between the 4.7's Preon 2 and the 4.7's Quark Mini AA2. If you happen to have missed part 1, just go back and re-watch that one before watching this part. In that part we go over an overview of the features available for each of these and how they compare with each other. So for this part what I was planning on doing was just comparing the beams of light that each of them emit and just the different modes available. Now they both have the same amount of modes. They have high, medium, and low. They have strobe, SOS, and beacon. So what I was going to do is do this in 3 little mini parts. The first part I was just going to do a quick overview of those modes by shining them on the table and go through all those modes and kind of how they compare with each other. Just so you know, I'm about the distance away from the table is around 20 inches or so, which is about 50.8 centimeters. So then after we quickly go over those, I was going to go to a different room and then test out from about 8 feet away on a white wall. And then after that, I'll be going outside and testing it around 100 feet, just so you get a bunch of different frames of reference when comparing these two flashlights with each other. Both are really great EDC flashlights. So I hope you enjoy this video on the flashlight comparison between the 4.7's Preon 2 and the 4.7's Quark Mini AA2. Let's get started. Both of these flashlights use the same pattern for cycling through the different modes. So the pattern is low, medium, high, low, medium, high. Then you get to the special functions: strobe, SOS, beacon high, and beacon low. And the same thing goes for the Quark Mini. So you go low, medium, high, low, medium, high, strobe, SOS, beacon high, and beacon low. So I'm going to turn off the lights and let's begin a quick little comparison of those modes. So let's start off with the Preon first on low, and then the Quark Mini on low. Oops. Alright, now let's go to medium. You can see that the Quark Mini is a lot wider in color. I'm not sure how it looks on the camera. Let's go to high. Again, I have these around 20 inches away from the tabletop. Let's cycle through again and go to the strobe mode. And let's do the same for the Quark Mini. Alright, now let's go to SOS. Let's go to beacon high. And beacon low. Now beacon, when you switch to that mode, it blinks several times initially, and then every 5 to 10 seconds, I forget what the exact number is, I'll put in the annotation, it'll blink again. And this could be used if you're for some kind of search device. For example, say if you need to go to the restroom at your tent and you just want to set the beacon on a table, and you walk in the dark, and then maybe you could follow that light back to get back, and that kind of conserves on your energy too. Now the Quark Mini definitely has an advantage on this, on having the flat tail cap. Now for the Preon 2, you could buy a flat tail cap as well, but I'm just going to be testing and doing the review based off of out-of-the-box comparison, so what you get when you buy each of these flashlights, not add-ons. Alright, so this is a basic rundown of the different modes. So what I'm going to do now is just test these in a different room, so from a little bit more of a distance. So let's move to the other room. Before going to the other room, let's do a quick comparison with the Streamlight Stylus Pro, which I'm hoping one of these will replace for my EDC light. So let's turn off the light again, and we'll compare the Streamlight Stylus Pro to the Preon 2. This is the Preon 2 on low, medium, and high. So you can see that the Preon 2 kind of competes a little bit with the Streamlight on medium setting, but not really on high or low. Alright, now let's do the same thing with the Quark Mini. Let's see if we can do this. There's low. I think I might have went on high on there on accident. There's medium. And there's high. Alright, so that's just a quick comparison with the Streamlight Stylus. So let's move to the other room now. Alright, I'm here in another room right now to test out the flashlights again. I have the camera away from an off-white wall right now at around 10 feet. I measured it out with my little tape measure here. So what we're going to do is we're going to shine both lights again, and I'll go through high, medium, and low on this. And the whole point of doing the side-by-side comparison like this is just try to remove some of the camera artifacts that are hard to get rid of, so things like the ghost and smears and skews and wobbles, things like that. So we'll try to get rid of as much of that as possible by having the two lights compared against each other. And let's kind of just look at some of the colors differences between these two lights and how the beams are focused and everything. So let's turn off the lights and get started. So let's start off first with the Preon 2. This is on low setting. Medium and high. Now on the camera it kind of has almost a green color to it. In the room here it's kind of like a whitish blue. So I'm going to do the same thing quickly with the Quark Mini. It's low. You can see it's a much centered beam. Medium. And high. So let's do these side by side now. So let's start off with low with the Quark Mini, and here's the Preon. Now let's go with medium, and medium on the Preon. Now the mediums I think compete more with each other. On low you can see that the Quark Mini is definitely a stronger beam even on low, although still, I'm not sure if you can notice this with the camera, but the Quark Mini definitely has more of a centered beam to it. It doesn't spill and bleed out as much as what the Preon does. And now let's go to high. Those are both beams on high. At around 10 feet from an off-white wall. Now the camera is not really doing it justice. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out when I look at it on the computer, but right now when I'm looking on the LCD screen, it kind of has a greenish color to it. In person, the Quark Mini has more of a, it's definitely a white color to it. It's very white. There's not much, I don't see any yellow or blue or green, anything like that. And with the Preon 2, it's more of a whitish yellow. If I were to describe it a little bit, I don't see any hints of any kind of a color in it. Although, I'm a guy and I don't have the best color eye anyway. So that's a quick comparison at 10 feet on an off-white wall. So what we'll do now is let's go outside and go test this at greater distances and see how they compare with each other there. Before going outside, I figured it was only fair to let the Streamlight Stylus Pro get its shot at shining up against the wall at 10 feet. So let's compare the Streamlight Stylus Pro against the Quark Mini. Here's the Streamlight Stylus Pro. It has a kind of a white bluish color to it if I were to give it a color. And let's go against the Quark Mini on low. Quark Mini on medium. You can see that the Streamlight Stylus Pro has a much thinner kind of beam to it. It's very centered. There's not a lot of depth to it at all. And then on high. As you can see, the Quark Mini kind of dwarfs it over there. Alright, so let's try it now with the Preon 2. Here's the Streamlight Stylus Pro and the Preon 2 on low. The Preon 2, it's not really that bright at all actually over there. Here's medium. That looks pretty good. It's already better than the Streamlight Stylus Pro, I think. Although there's not a lot of center to it, is there? It's one thing for the Streamlight, you could say it's very centered, and it can then kind of disperses very wide, and then on high. Alright, so that's the Streamlight Stylus Pro, just getting its shot to compare it up against these other great flashlights. So now let's move outside. Hey YouTube. I'm outside in this kind of industrial part of town, and I thought I'd give my flashlights a little bit of a test. So this wall looks pretty good. One thing I found out that trying to do flashlight tests in the city is kind of hard because there's not a lot of areas that don't have lights around. So this place is fairly dark, so I think it'll be a good test. I tried looking for a place that had about 100-foot distance between myself and the wall, but the camera just wasn't picking up the flashlight well enough. So this is around Around 40 feet is what I counted out. So it's not quite enough, but I think it shows the beam pattern at a greater distance than we showed earlier. So let's get started. All right, let's start off first with the Preon 2 on the right, on low setting. So there's the Preon 2. You can't really see it that well. Let me do the Quark Mini. Quark Mini's on the left, Preon 2's on the right. It's probably pretty dim in the camera. So let's go over to medium setting. It's the Preon 2 on medium. Quark Mini on medium on the left. So you can see the Quark Mini's a lot more focused. I see it a lot better, especially both in person and on the camera. And now let's go to high setting. It's the Preon 2 on high. And the Quark Mini on high. Again, this is at around 40 feet. One thing that I've noticed with going through the different modes, I find it a lot easier to go through the modes using the Quark Mini with the twist method. I find that I could do it quicker. Medium high, low, medium high. It seems to be fairly fast versus the Preon 2, or I find that I'm having to count a lot. I don't know if that makes any sense, but to going through all those things, sometimes I lose track of where I'm at in the mode sequence. Also with the Quark Mini, since it's a twist method, it's a silent method. So for any of you ninjas out there, maybe you don't want to have a clicky button like that going. That'll blow your cover. So the Quark Mini is also pretty good in that respect. So. Alright, so I think that'll do it for this little flashlight outdoor test. Again at 40 feet up against the wall. That's going to do it for part 2 of the flashlight comparison video between the 4.7's Quark Mini AA2 and the 4.7's Preon 2. I hope you enjoyed seeing the beam comparison between these two different flashlights. Let's move on now to part 3, in which we'll run a quick stress test on both of these flashlights, and then we'll do a summary of the different features available and see how they stack up against each other. Please feel free to leave any kind of comments, and we'll talk to you more soon. Bye.